Hey guys, this is Frankie, Simply Imaginary People. So I've been asked just to do a little tutorial on dresses because they seem to be a bit harder to UV map. So what I'm going to show you is just how to UV map a dress properly in Blender and to check that the UV map is okay, and also later how to add some underwear to your dresses so that your Sims don't look naked when they're sitting down. So the first thing you can do is, just as you usually do, import your mesh into Blender. I need to find a dress, which is more difficult. This dress. Okay. So here I have a dress mesh, and like I always do, I'm going to import the UV body. When I find it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So your dress shouldn't be white, I just haven't deleted materials, but which is actually kind of ruins it. Wait. Okay. Right. So like you always do, you go into edit mode and you set this to UV image editor, and this is my UV map. And like I always do, I'm going to go into edit mode here, make a new image, and just bake it. So I'm not going to explain these steps because it's pretty much just my tutorial. Okay, now you'll realize with dresses that you kind of get these half grey, half black areas. So this area looks black, this area looks grey, and it becomes kind of slightly more complicated where to put meshes. So I'm just going to show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open that image I just made, and I'm going to do it how you would usually do it. So let's just scale these down. This is just really rough at the moment because it's only for the tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to put it here and cover also dark grey for the moment. I'm just going to stick that to the side. It doesn't really matter, this is just to show you. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and bake this. Obviously when you do it you need to put the proper bake settings under here, so turn all this on and put your samples to 20, but for the sake of this tutorial. Okay, so now I've got an image. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the body and I'm going to go to edit mode, press A to select everything, and I'm actually going to pick that baked image we just did of my mesh. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this from here to texture. Right. Give me a minute. That has a weird texture because that's halfway to the side, so I'm just going to overlay that for a minute. Okay, now what you're going to see is that your sim is see-through because only the bit's textured, but if you look literally under their dress, I can see that the texture starts about here. So if I do something to make it more obvious, I'm just going to image, open image, and I'm just going to open a random pattern for this so that I can see what I'm doing. Okay. Right. Now when I look under the dress, I can see where the texture starts on the body. So I can see that if my sim's probably sitting, so I have like this type of angle, that I will see texture on the body. So she's going to have texture here, which obviously doesn't look very neat. So I can't cover that area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it again. Open the image, and this time I am going just move this to the side to scale it down smaller, and I'm going to move it higher up so that it's definitely not on the grey area. So be careful with dresses, try to just never cover the legs, like try to leave this body area here free, because unless you have like a super tight dress, because otherwise you'll have this where you'll literally see texture on the body. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bake that again. and then I'm going to go to the body, edit, A to select it all, and I'm going to open the new bake. And what I can see now is that when I look at this angle, I can't see any texture on the body. It starts like way up there, which I probably won't see in game. So it's just a way to check that you can't really see texture when you look under the dress. So yeah, this is how to check in Blender if your texture covers your body. And obviously you can do this for all clothes, so if you have sleeves or neck, you can just see if you can, when you turn this around, you can see the texture, of the clothing. Right, the other thing I wanted to show you was, I'm just going to open TSR. I'm going to open the multiplier on my Iceland pictures. If you open your multiplier, probably the oldest mesh I own. Right. I'm guessing this is it. Yeah, okay. If you open your multiplier, if it's a DDS, then I usually just go to the alpha channel, select the black area, go to RGB again, go to layers, say layer from background, and then just delete, so then I can see. Right, what you can do is you can open TSR Workshop, create new project, and say clothing. Then you can go to human, I have a child, female, I'm just going to click female and let it load. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some EA pants to this dress, well, undies, panties, so that when the kid sits down, she's pretty much not naked underneath. So let's find the EA underwear, if I have it. Should be here somewhere. Alright, here. Okay. So you need to use preferably underwear that isn't meshed. So this is literally just painted on the body, it's just like a texture. All I'm going to do is I'm going to export the multiplier, and the multiplier should be around about the area where the kid's lower half is. I'm just going to export this, and I'm just going to save it somewhere. Right, and then I'm going to open it. It is actually a lot smarter to export this straight away as a PNG, so I don't have to delete the background. Okay. Right here. Okay, and now all I'm going to do is my texture is the size 2048 by 2048. So I'm going to go image, image size, and make this 2048 by 2048. All I'm going to do is I'm going to say duplicate layer to my other multiplier. Now you can see it has underwear. Now, here you can see that I have the issue that this layer actually covers my layer. So if you want to add underwear to dresses, you should have UV mapped it so that pretty much this isn't covered. So I'm just going to use this UV map I did here. Right, so I'm just going to go to image, save as image. So, okay. And again, make the image sizes the same. Okay. So on this one you can see now my underwear doesn't overlap with my mesh. So if you want to use underwear, you've got to make sure that this image won't overlap with your UV map. You can do that obviously when you're UV mapping by just going to image, open image, opening the underwear, and then oops, image, open image, opening the underwear picture and just making sure that you UV map in the area around it. So I would advise doing this if your dress is pretty open at the bottom or short. Right, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this. PNG and then DDS if you've finished editing it all. And you can then use this as your multiplier, and obviously also mask the panties as a different color if you want to make it colorful. But what I want to show you is now if I open my new one, here we go, and I also open open it in on the body, then I can see what I'm going to see is a sim, and when they sit down, can't really see it much here, they're going to have underwear underneath. So I've literally just added underwear. I can't really show you this without having UV mapped a dress, and I don't really have very many dresses, and this one, as you can see, would overlay. But literally just by adding the multiplier of some painted on underwear, you can literally really easily add underwear to your dresses, and just import this as your multiplier in TSRW, and then you pretty much don't have a totally naked sim. So just merge the multiplier of the underwear. Make sure you do right click and say duplicate layer, because if you just copy and paste it, it'll probably move it, and if you move where this multiplier is, then it's going to look weird in game. But yeah, so the important points are, make sure that they don't overlap, just put the multiplier on. You can use an EA, panties, bikini briefs, whatever you want to use as underwear underneath, and in Blender try to avoid UV mapping parts of your dress over like the bottom half of the sim, because you're often going to see the texture on the body underneath if you look from underneath. So yeah, this is just really quickly on dresses.